You're listening to this because you like scary stories. Do you believe in monsters? Most people don't. They say the world's not big enough, or there's not enough evidence. But have you ever heard the voice beneath the riverbed? If you've never spent much time by water, then probably not. And if you have, chances are you've never heard the Silt Whisperer. I'm your host, and this is a horror podcast. It's late at night, the sky is filled with stars. A thin layer of mist hangs over the river, and fireflies blink their lights on and off like fallen stars. You sit on an old wooden dock that creaks ominously with every lean of its weight. The river moves sluggishly, but a few bugs buzz overhead, but there's no other sound except the gentle lapping of water against wood. It's too quiet, it feels wrong. Just as you start to relax, a sudden splash breaks the silence. You turn to see what was in the water, but it's gone. Just ripples where a moment ago there was nothing. Then, you hear it. A whisper right behind you, but not in your ear. You turn to see who's there, but there's nobody. The voice comes again, and this time, you catch the words, "Beware." It says, "Beware." But the voice isn't coming from above. It seems to come from below, from deep within the riverbed itself. You peer into the murky water, but it's too dark to see anything. You can't even tell how deep the water is here. There's no moon tonight, and the only light is from the stars, which reflect in the water and make everything shimmery and indistinct. You can't tell where the surface begins and the darkness below it ends. It's hard to tell how long you stand there watching the dark water, listening to the whispering voice. Time seems to stop. The air grows cold, and you feel a sudden chill crawl up your spine. Finally, the whispering stops, and you take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Maybe it was just a trick of the light and the water, you tell yourself. But something in the water shifts and turns. Something is coming toward you. You turn to run, but something grabs your ankle and pulls you down. You scream as you fall into the black water. When you resurface, you frantically thrash about trying to get your bearings. Where are you? Where's the dock? Where's the shore? Your vision is blurry. Is it the water? Or is something interfering with your sight? You reach out to grab onto something, but all you find is more water. And then you see it. The water around your hand is clear. Beneath the surface is a strange, grayish substance that looks like wet sand. And then you see the shape of it. The outline of a hand. A big hand with long, sharp claws. You pull back as fast as you can and try to swim away. But the hand reaches out, fast as lightning, and grabs onto your arm. It pulls you under the water and into the darkness. You kick and scream and try to gouge out the eyes that you know must be watching you from the darkness. But you can't find them. Then you feel it. Something slimy and scaly brushing against your leg. You thrash wildly, but there's nowhere to go. You're surrounded by the same wet sand that filled your vision. Then you feel the pressure as something large wraps around your waist and pulls you tighter and tighter until you can't breathe anymore. Then you see it, lumbering closer, huge, scaly, and slick. A grotesque parody of a crocodile with dull gray skin like river mud, except for its undersides, which are a sickly green color. Patches of algae grow on its back and cover its head. Its eyes are a milky white soulless orbs that stare straight ahead. Its mouth hangs open to one side, revealing rows upon rows of sharp, jagged teeth. As it slithers closer, you see its chest rise and fall very slightly. Does it breathe? Then it opens its mouth fully and releases a stream of bubbles. As it gets closer, you see its long arms hanging down in front of it, tipped with webbed hands that end in sharp claws. It reminds you of a frog, but millions of times larger. One of its hands swipes through the water and disappears from view. Its long tail whips back and forth, slapping against the water and making the sand around you swirl. Its leathery face is featureless, except for 2 rows of gills that run along each side of its head and the mouth that's still open. A low whistle comes from somewhere inside the creature. You strain to listen, but the whistling grows louder, and soon you can't hear anything else. It leans forward and sniffs at you curiously. Then it takes a bite out of your leg. You scream in pain. The river around you is disturbed. You can feel the current change. The muddy water pours into your wound and stings like fire. The last thing you remember is the taste of blood filling your mouth and the look of pure hunger in the monster-esque. Do you want to know its name? They call it the Silt Whisperer, and it lives in the darkest parts of rivers and lakes all over the world. Sometimes it surfaces at night and swims close to shore. It lures its victims with the sound of its voice, but it doesn't speak any language humans understand. What you hear is whatever it wants you to hear. Some say they hear the sound of children laughing, so they wade into the water to investigate. Others hear their loved ones calling their names. Many fishermen have drowned trying to make sense of the voices. Some say they hear music, and some say they hear their own voices echoing back to them from the river. These whispers always seem to come just before the Silt Whisperer attacks. Some say it feeds on the dreams of those who live near the water. That's why people who live far from the river rarely hear the whispers. And even if they do, it doesn't take any notice of them. It only reacts to people who spend a lot of time by the river, who know its moods and its sounds. The Silt Whisperer has been observed swimming backwards. Some say it does this to confuse its prey, and others say it's collecting the voices of those it plans on hunting later. Fishermen say the river often runs backward when it's near. This could also be the reason why some fishermen disappear without a trace. One minute they're there, and the next they're gone. Others have seen strange whirlpools form and disappear in the river, and many say they've seen humanoid shapes moving through the water just beneath the surface. These are probably the souls of those trapped beneath the riverbed, forever stuck in the watery grave that's claimed so many lives. But it's not always easy to spot the Silt Whisperer. The best way to hide would be to become part of the river itself. Sometimes it blends in perfectly. Fishermen have caught fish with weird gray skin and patches of algae growing on their backs. Their eyes are milky white, and their mouths are twisted into eternal screams. It's believed these are the fish the Silt Whisperer has infected. They act as its eyes and ears, letting it know when someone ventures too close to shore. If you really want to hide, you need to become one with the river itself. That's why the Silt Whisperer is also known as the living river. People who spend a lot of time by the river learn its moods. They can tell when it's happy or sad, and they can even tell when it's hungry. If you ever spend a lot of time by a river, you might be able to tell its mood, but you should never try to change it. It's important to keep the river happy. If you ever go missing while out on the river, many believe the Silt Whisperer has claimed another victim, but there are ways to appease it. Every year, towns that live along the river hold festivals to honor the Silt Whisperer. They throw offerings of food into the river and make strange carvings of the creature. These carvings are usually placed on rocks along the riverbank, and the locals say they glow faintly when the Silt Whisperer is near. In exchange for the offerings, the Silt Whisperer is supposed to protect the town. Some people even say the river speaks to them, but not in a voice they can hear. Instead, messages appear in their minds. They're not audible whispers, but mental images and feelings. These are called the gifts of the river. When the river is happy, the gifts can be good, bringing things like good fortune and happiness. But if the river is angry, the gifts can be bad, like nightmares and visions of death. Some of the warnings the river sends are subtle, but others aren't. Some people are chosen for special gifts, but not everyone is so lucky. These are they receive a gift that brings them bad luck, like getting lost in the woods or breaking important things. These unfortunates usually don't survive for long. Either they drown in the river, or the Silt Whisperer claims them as its own. Some say the Silt Whisperer's touch can turn people into monsters like itself. These creatures are known as the drowned. They have gray skin and webbed hands, but their faces are human. It's believed the drowned hunt for other humans, dragging them into the river to feed the Silt Whisperer. So if you ever hear the whispers in the river, be careful. Try not to show fear. Try to become one with the river. If you're worthy, it may spare you, but if it doesn't, you'll become another voice beneath the riverbed. And now, before we go, a little gift from the river to you. Click here to listen to another episode. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already.